Okay, welcome to the second version of our recording. We stop at this point where we have the customer table. We try to break down the question number one. So we have the customer, we have the customer ID. Now we are talking about the row, okay? The row is simply the information that is under this customer ID. So we don't have any customer ID like, for example, in the form of number. The customer ID is like 22015 or something like in the form of number in the question. Do we have? Let's check. Do we have any customer ID here? No, we don't have any customer ID like that. So here the information here is none. Okay, none is given to here. So whenever you have a column here which doesn't have any information, bring the column before what? The table. Okay, I will show you what I mean about that. So let's write the SQL question. It says what? The question, look at the question very well. How many customers are there in the database? So we are going to say what? Select. So select is an SQL command. Okay, select is an SQL command that is used to what? Retrieve an information from your database, to select an information from your database, or to return an information from your what? Database. We use select. Okay, so select what? Select count. Okay, count is also one SQL command. You can see that I capitalize every one of them. You can see that the first rule of SQL commands are that they are always capitalized. So I'm going to say select count. What I'm going to count? The customer ID, because I want what? Every customer in my database. So select count. What am I counting? The customer ID. Okay, select count what? Customer ID. From where? From customer table. From customer. Okay, from customer, and then what? Semicolon. So this semicolon is a must. You have to indicate this semicolon. Okay, without this semicolon your query cannot run. Okay, so select count. What are you counting? Customer ID from customer table. So that's question number one. How many customers are there in the database? If you do this, we'll have what? The total number of customers in your database. So let's look at question number two. Which customers have a gender of female? Which customers have a gender of female? So basically, when we look at this, we are trying to identify which customers are gender called female. That's what we want to find. Customers that are what? Female. That's what we want to identify here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I will try to see how many tables do I have here with customers. So it means that I have one table. Okay, so let me see whether I have any table called here product table, have a gender of female. So basically all this information is talk about one table that is called what? Customer table. Okay, we already have customer table here. And then do we have any what column do we need under this customer table? Do they give us any column to look at? Which customers have a gender of female? So we know that gender is what? A column under what? Customer. You can see gender here. So the gender here, we are interested in what? A column called gender. So we are going to write here what? Gender. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to write here gender. Okay, now under the gender, what row do we need here? Row means information, so this row must match with this column. So we know that gender is either what? Male or a female, isn't it? So we believe that any row that's supposed to be under this gender must be either what? Male or a female. So let's look at here. Did they specify a type of gender? Yes, they specify. This is what? The gender is what? Female, must be female. So we're going to write here the gender equals to what? Female. Altogether. So now we have already identified our three columns here. We have the table, you have the column, you have the row. We identify all of them. So I'm going to simply write what? The query. Okay, let's briefly recap with the question. Which customers have a gender of female? So I will say select what? Select is always used when you want to get information, and here we want to get information because we want to select which gender is female. So we are going to say select what? Select all from customer. So this asterisk sign is talking about all. It's talking about all. So the customer table, we're going to write it in small letter. Okay, so select all customer. Okay, select all customer. Okay, select all customer from just here we're gonna say select all from customer. Okay, that is the right way. Select all from customer where gender is equals to what? Female. Okay, where gender is equals to female. Remember, we say whenever you are dealing with a row, okay, or information, okay, which you know that is in the form of a string or a character or a letter, we have to put in what quotation. But if it is in the form of number, no need. But since this one is in the form of character or a string, we are going to put in what? Quotation, so that the database can recognize this as a string. Okay, so a female. Okay, and then our semicolon. Do not forget about this semicolon. Okay, so select all from customer where gender equals to female. So it's going to retrieve you an information like all the gender that is in the customer table. Okay, let's look at the third question again. It says what is the full name? What is the full name? And bracket open, the question for this is concatenation of first name and the last name of each customer. So what this basically is talking about, the full name, there's the first name and the last name. So the question wants us to find the customers with first name and the last name, combination of these two. Okay, that's what the question wants us to find. So before I will go to the other page, let's try to identify how many tables do we have in this question. What is the full name? Okay, of what? The full name here is talking about the first name and the last name, isn't it? Of what? Each customer. So since we are talking about customer table here, we only have one table here called what? Customer. Let's identify which column do we need. Okay, sorry about that. So the column that we need here is what? First name and the last name, because it's the full name. Okay, the full name will be what? The first name and the last name. So we are going to write here, the column we need here is the first name, comma, last name. Okay, first name, last name. And let's try to see, did they give us any first name? Like the first name is Ibrahima, the last name is Jeta. Did they say something like that in our question? There's nothing like that. They don't give us any name of the customer. So basically here is none. Okay, we don't have any name, first name and last name given to us. Okay, so now we can create our SQL query. Okay, we can create our SQL query. So since we want to identify the first name and the last name, of each of the customers, so we are going to say select first name, comma, last name. Okay, first name, last name. Okay, from where? Customer table, because we are getting this information from where? Customer table. So we are selecting the first name, the last name from customer. Okay, and then do not forget our semicolon. You bring a semicolon, then that's it. Okay, so it will retrieve the first name, the last name, okay, of the customer from where? From the customer table. Okay, now let's go to question number 4. It says what is the total sales of all products for the month of January? What is the total sales of all products for the month of January? So to also break down this question, let's ask what we normally do. What is the total sales? So the total sales is talking about what? Under the product table, let's see the attributes of the product. We have product ID, customer ID, product name, type, quantity, price, amount, transaction date, and availability. So when the question says what is the total sales, which attribute do you think, which attribute or which column do we think we're going to use? Okay, So we know that we are dealing with which table? Product table, isn't it? So we're going to write here product. Now the column that we need here is what? It's going to be what? What is the total sales of all product? So basically we need the amount, because amount combines what? The total. The price times the quantity. Okay, so we are going to use here what? Amount. And under this amount, did they give us any amount? For example, like when we talk about row, the row must be information that can be categorized under this column. And amount, we know that it must be in the form of figures like 100,000, 50,000, 10,000, something like that. Did they give us any information such as that in this question? What is the total sales of all products? So no, they didn't mention anything like that, isn't it? So we're going to write here none for what? None for amount. So now let's further see whether we have any column again under this question. What is the total sales of all products? We already identified that. But now the question further says for the month of January. Now for the month of January is talking about a date, okay, in which this transaction occurred. Okay. Now for the month of January is talking about date, right? Let's see whether we're going to have any attribute under the product table that can represent what? A date here. Product ID, customer ID, product name, type, quantity, no, price, amount, no, but transaction date is here. So this transaction date is talking about a date in which activity occurs. So we are going to use here transaction date. Okay, transaction date must be here. It's a column. Transaction date. Okay, now did they give us any date for this transaction? That is talking about this row. So we know that this row, any information that must be here must be talking about a date. Okay, the transaction date. So look at the question. It says what? Starting for the month of January. So it means that in this question they want us to find, okay, the total number of sales of products from 1st of January to the 31st of what? January. So in here the year is not given to us, but we assume like the current year that we have. For example, like in 2023, this question was set in 2023. So we assume that we're going to use from 1st of January 2023 to the 31st of January 2023. So we're going to write here, always date. When we are writing date in SQL, you use what? You use hash. Okay, so we're going to use hash. First of what? January 1st of January 2023. Okay, and again at the end you also write hash, and the other date will be what? And 31st of what? We're going to use hash again, sorry. 31st of January 2023, and at the end also you use what? The same hash. Okay, so this is our date. Okay, so this 1 month period, so we want to retrieve of all the total sales that was done in the month of what? January. Okay, now we can write our SQL statement. We can simply say what? Select what? Okay, now what I was talking about, when you have a column that has an information. For example, here we're going to bring these columns after our table. Okay, as I just mentioned earlier on, if at all you have a column that doesn't have information, that is row here, we are going to bring those columns at the front. So since we have a column here that does not have any information, which is amount, we are going to bring it at the beginning. So we are going to say select. Okay, but how many? Sorry, the question says what is the total? What is the total? So we are going to use what? Select sum of what? The amount. Okay, the amount as total underscore total sales. Okay, total sales. So when you look at here, this as total sale, it means that when you calculate sum of this amount the figure that you will have will be named on top as what